That's my sweet spot. Sure. All right. Well, welcome everybody to the Intimate Evening of Poetry at the Office of Collecting and Design, otherwise known as OCD. If you guys have already had a chance to walk around here, it's a pretty special place. Jessica Orrick is the owner and the curator and just a phenomenal human being we love to death. And she actually had this room as the reading room. And since our bookstore is just around the corner here, we thought this would be a good spot to actually host some intimate, smaller readings, especially for those nervous poets out there that aren't used to big crowds, or just the poets that would prefer to just talk softly. Or for the poets who just want to yell at people that are really close to them. We offer an opportunity for all of that. Tonight, unfortunately, we had two poets that had to cancel because of COVID, and I believe exhaustion was the other one. So Miss AV and Poetic V will not be here this evening. They will be at upcoming ones, but unfortunately, they will not be here tonight, which is a bummer because we love them both to death and they're super talented poets. However, we do have other great poets, some that we've worked with before, and one that is new to the scene of Avantpop poetry. So before we get started, tonight's theme is Invisible Ghosts. So this is our second season of hosting Avantpop Intimate Evenings of Poetry here at Office of Collecting. And so this time around, we thought we'd do some themes to give it a little more structure. And so this time around, it is Invisible Ghosts. Now, poetry is random and chaotic. And so what is Invisible Ghost? Well, we leave that to the poet to define and figure out for themselves. We don't censor much here, except for assholes. Well, that's not true, obviously. Well, I'd like to start you off tonight with a poem that I wrote years ago, and it's all about kind of figuring out what the hell's going on, the invisibleness of everything that happens around us. The title of this is "You Were Saying Something." I don't know where to begin. Where did I leave off? Or did I just begin? In disbelief, confused on sight, to tell the tale as it wanders through the desert at night. It orbits, but never lands, like a deaf man without hands. Where are we going? Have we been here before? This is not what I thought. Did you knock on the door? Misplaced words like the keys to the car. With a handful of words I mumble, I don't need to go far. Huh? What? What is it that you said? Let's talk about a friend of a friend. Would I say if you weren't here? That slipped out, so pretend you didn't hear. Speak up if you will and try to make yourself clear. I dropped it. You caught it, so go ahead and take it home. I'm lost. But at least I'm not alone. Did that just make sense? Did you comprehend? Or am I talking in a foreign language again? Thank you. All right, so we're going to go ahead and bring up a poet that really did not want to perform here at the Intimate Evening because it's they're more of a hardcore poet. They like the punk scene, and so we first brought them in to do a poem at Doom Poetry because they thought this was a little below them. However, they're such a good poet, we had to bring them back up. So please help me welcome to the stage Radiogenica.
For the record, that's not true. I don't think so all the poems I have are as close to the theme as I could get them. They're all fairly new, with the exception of one, but we'll get to that one. So this first one is called Hello Angel. I could learn to hold my tongue, or maybe just bite it off. I could learn to sit and stare as all the angels pull out my teeth And if I still had my tongue, I would tell you, I love you, angel, for the way you made me bleed. If I knew better, maybe I would have seen or said or done anything sooner. Maybe I would have learned to breathe through a sucking chest wound or put a car jack in my chest to keep my sternum from sinking back to kiss my spine. But I thought I knew every line. I love you, angel. I don't know how to watch you bleed or if there's something more I should be doing. Find a compress, call a doctor, apply pressure, find a church. I love you, angel, we say as we bleed. Now the cotton in our mouths only garbles our speech, our tongues nearly congruent. Mine gone, yours numb, our voices the same, if only to say, I love you, angel, please don't watch me bleed. This one is called The Colony. It's about ants in the fucking walls. You know, if you're not careful, they will live inside your walls, crawl along the same paths that they always do. They're always there, out of sight, not out of mind. And you can keep them at bay like you always have for years, but you swear if you listen, it's all you ever hear. It's only a matter of time before they are in your bed and in your hair and in your clothes. You can only dance to get away, but it's all you ever really think. God, I must look like a freak. You have to be careful because it lives inside your walls. It knows how you crawl along the same paths you always do, and it won't be kept at bay the same as it always has for years. I swear if you listen, it's all you'll ever hear. And it's only a matter of time before they are in your bed and in your hair and in your clothes. But aside from fumigation, complete and total evacuation, there is nothing left to do but manage the symptoms of infestation. And then this one was actually in the volume 3 of the Avantpop anthology. And it's called Closer. When I begin anything, I think first of the end. Identify the locations of all emergency exits, then have one foot out that door from the start. Keep a map of escape routes and a detailed log of contingency plans. Never fully unpack my bags. Keep a meticulous mental list of which books on the shelf are mine, so I know what to take and what to leave when I leave. When it ends, because it always ends, I always think of the end, even at the start. I half-ass everything from the very first moment because the intention is always to run away. This one is called Home Fires, and it's for pretty much my entire life. I have had a deathly fear of house fires. And every few years it pops back up. And this is just like all the time, or not all the times, but a lot of the times I can remember it. When I was 4 years old, I used to pray to God and ask him to save my house from fire, to grant his great blue love to my family. Every night I would pack all of my stuffed animals into baskets and bags and ask my brother to help me carry them if a fire started while we slept. Before climbing to bed, I would double check the oven and the stove, and then I would double check again, just to be safe. I did not know that we were already on fire, and that no pious child could save us or me or the things I love from being burned. In middle school, one of the electrical outlets behind the bookcase filled the house with the smell of burning plastic, and my forgotten terror was reignited. My dad tried to reassure me that it was just a loose screw, but nothing could convince me that we were not on the edge of disaster. Now, as an adult, I resist the thought of my home catching on fire. I resist the urge to pack all my most precious memories into easy-to-grab baskets and bags in case a fire starts while I sleep. I do not pray to God to grant his great blue love to my family, but I still leave important things near the door. I still go to bed mostly dressed in case I need to run out into the street at God knows what time in the morning. But I am already on fire, and no pious child could save us or me or the things I love from being burned. Two more. This one was also in the Antholozine, but in a slightly different version. I took out a couple words to make it fit that word limit, and it's called It Follows. It was also under a different title, and I've changed that since then. This thing that I am, it follows, always nearer or further than I've asked it to be. This part of me that drinks my sins, may it never leave. You say that we're choking, but whose heart am I holding? I'm seeing what's real, and what I'm composing is one single truth, wired and unprovoking. I don't hold hope for reconciliation. I'd rather die as the beast that I could be, bitter and tired, growling and tied up. I have no standards to which you can hold me. This part of me I've never seen. She's never loved. She never sees. May she never leave. This last one is called The Waves and What's Between Them. They say not everything feels like something else. So why am I still scrolling through catalogs of songs, hoping for someone else to describe these moments like waves washing over the shore, over and over and over? Why am I hoping against another white-knuckled drive or another trembling hand in my trembling hand? Why am I waiting for someone to tell me it won't be like before? They say not everything feels like something else, but this sure as fuck does. It feels like my chest has been hollowed out and the remaining space is a vacuum, filled only when it quietly collapses in on itself. It feels exactly like it did before. It feels like I am still sitting in the pews, watching something I don't understand, watching bearer after bearer after bearer carry you, and waiting for it to end. It feels like I am still standing in the August heat, wearing a blue dress, dripping sweat, watching soil, bury you, and waiting for it to end. And it feels like I am still standing on the rocks below the cliff, watching the water washing over the shore, watching waves swallow rocks, swallow waves, swallow you, and waiting for it to end. But there is no end. There is only the water. There are only the waves and the space between them. But I still don't understand why it has to be like before.
Radiogenica, everybody, come on. One of our favorite poets that came to us and was like, I want to read poetry. And yeah, we're a wordsmith for sure, and we're stoked to continue to see what you keep doing. I'm glad you're writing new stuff, so keep it up, Brad. Our next poet, his work the circuit, has been around for a while and is also a Las Vegas native, if I'm correct. So the stories and the vibe has soul to this town that many other poets don't recognize. And I'm so honored and so happy to have Jennifer Battisti come up here and speak some of her beautiful prose. So please, Jennifer, this is all.
Good evening. I'm really excited to be here with this incredible lineup of fellow poets. I want to thank Avantpop, Sugar and Shwa for creating inclusive, connective events in the community like this and other ones, and also to Jessica from the Office of Collecting and Design for this spectacular space. I can't think of like a better dream-like, surreal place to speak words. My invisible ghosts have been stuck trauma, place, and memory itself. So everything I brought tonight is, spoiler alert, these are pretty tragic. I'll be reading one short piece and two longer poetic pieces. All of these came from a difficult period in my adolescence that I buried for almost 30 years. And I think if secrets live inside you long enough, they become ghosts. So speaking them sets them free. So I'll get started. The first one I wrote after spending time in this very museum when it first opened, and I used some of the miniature objects and cataloging inspiration as an entryway into memory. If I can find it. Spoons, teeth, bones. First we get high in the rawhide wash, then bend spoons into friendship rings. And later you even curated homemade Stonehenge from your baby teeth, propped in a Mojave dirt lot, the equinox of working class neon radiating a tumbling real aurora through the crack in our ghetto dawn. Remember smacking blackboard erasers into a religion of chalk? Punishment together never fazed us. Remember the back of the school bus and my rent-a-cello? The bow dusted with the rosin of cheddar fries and plans to ditch the math tutor's tricky division of algebra and unsolicited scripture? Remember the way she'd snuff out our one-hitter and press her gold cross into our chickenpox scars and untended trauma? After school was always special with you. Remember that one time I fell into the manhole after we walked to Sev for gutter beer and bubble tape? I had a huge gash in my shin bone, and you had to crutch me all the way home. I wish the manhole would have been the kind with steam rising off the top, but it was the dry caliche kind with Safeway slot machines staring numbly in the distance. Who knew I'd spend the rest of my life falling into manholes just to feel the pain of climbing out, my friendship ring always shattering on the way down. This next one is called If You Want to Know What You're Made Of, Self-Portrait at 16. First, it's just a log you keep in the back of your diary, novelty, dates you've gotten stoned with friends in the neighborhood, Ellie on the electric box, Billy and Sarah at the Grove, first period behind the school cafeteria. It's truancy officers on golf carts considering off-roading into the cheap corners of the desert. It's the desert that will later be pulverized for a local casino. It's goodbye to it all. Your family is a set of knives and 2 unwashed teacups. When you need your mother to be strong, she uses you as a colander. When you need her to be calm, she becomes a soup spoon stuck on the garbage disposal. Your father is a solar eclipse. You need special equipment to make eye contact, a Cracker Jack box and a coin slot. He has barbecue grill hands, smoky indifference, the stuck beef of his charred childhood. It's a girl who sees you, sees through your shrunken, muted body from the back of the bus, the way she drills her eyes, heady, into the empire waist of your baby doll dress, into your manic panic hair, her persistence in your bedroom. Lesbian is a word you have to suck on, she tells you. It needs to dissolve on your tongue a while before you can sound it out. Once you sound it out, you like the way it is asking something of you, how the word itself needs your answer to exist. It's the way her fingers roll over the clear handle of the window's blinds, turning their backs, the way the whole world will follow suit. She'll make it happen with her words. She has so many tricks already, eyeballs that vibrate on command, double-jointed fingers that reach further inside you than anything has gone, a Zippo mouth burning the edges of your life. Girl lips on your girl lips on your body, inside your telephone all night, entering your sleep with gaslight, with baby and won'tcha, forever and just us. If you want to know what you're made of, it's the way she leaves you and comes back over and over. Abandonment like motion sickness, like gravitron. She loves you centrifugally while reminding you how unlovable you are to everyone else. She reminds you to wear the plaid skirt with the giant safety pin from the Aerosmith video. She reminds you to steal from your mother's pocketbook. You practice being Alicia Silverstone. Kids at school start to call you a dyke. At sleepovers, your friends change clothes in bathrooms, even though you insist you liked it when Bobby Perez stung your face with his stubble. You hate being both. You wish you could be poisoned all the way through. It takes one to know one is the patron saint your mother prays to on her hands and knees every night. Ernest, Gallo, and Mr. Clean in her terry cloth robe. A drunk husband she likes to wake with bold cooking utensils. The girl taps on your window. Her gack, fat smile slips you from your bed sheets. Can she count on you? She wants to lick your daddy wounds in the black desert. There is a glass dome where you both can live. Blue smoke, blue smoke. She shows you how to charm it into your lungs. Her eyes are twin torches. You love the way she watches you when you're high, quivering trickery of being spoon-fed air and want and just enough. When you wake her after she comes down, she jolts up, swinging punches and spit. You swear you can smell your father's cologne. Obsession. She'll strangle you for a moment, her caustic breath, her dead eyeballs. She'll choke you until she realizes it's you. Then she'll take your neck into her mouth like it's a baby animal. It's letting your future rot while she waits for you in the backyard, a bed you've made for her on patio furniture, the metal teeth catching when she pulls you on top. It's the pork ribs you pretended to eat, but really wrapped in a napkin for her. You are the saucer, she is the cup. She's a troublemaker, dropout, foster kid, thief, runaway dope fiend. She's the VHS tape never returned to Video East. The one you hide and watch over and over. The one with the girls in the lacy underwear that you had to find behind a curtain in the back of the store. The one you feel ashamed to love so much. You are the pouty lip, another chance giver, the one who understands. You can't remember which you want more, the dope in her pocket or her. She calls you kitty cat and precious, holds your hair while you snort speed. In the parking lot of the ABC bartending school, you tip your head back, the blade of crank forming a tear that blurs the sky, desert inverted, your life like an overturned jug, gulping one heavy bulb of air before gravity makes its mess, makes it all untrue. Alone on the entryway tile, you wait for your parents to return beneath weather stripping as headlights. You are startle reflex. They never know you're waiting for them to return. It's why don't they know? You are stripped of weather, of self. Your grandparents send you a college guidebook in the mail while you force milk and saltines into your throat so you'll stop passing out. You're made of a hair clog your mother rakes from the drain. It's the way it makes her late for work, the way you just stand there, balding, erasing. The girl becomes your external hard drive of self-worth. You are rent to own. You are swap meet junk. It's how bold, how sure she is to let you still date boys, to figure it out. She volunteers to chauffeur you to the homecoming dance, her eyes at the rearview mirror eating everything that came before her. And after you drop off the boy, it's her hands lifting your Windsor dress in the back seat. How you love the way you are disappearing into only a small cage for her to fill with a Tracy Chapman song. Any place is better. Blue smoke, her fingers in your mouth. It's melting plastic that makes your kidneys scream, but also makes the hairs on your arm stand on end. How that chemical smell will wake you, like a dumb animal years later, arousal like a time bomb she left inside you. It's decades later when she's released from prison, after you've keyed out her features in your mind, made sure to avoid going to AA meetings at the Triangle Club off Nellis, just in case. It's how she will find you easily on MySpace and cut and paste your life onto her profile, as if to say, you will always belong to me. If you want to know what you're made of, you will have to choose. You will have to beckon the darkness inside you and relinquish your own needs entirely. You'll want to know her all the way to the bottom, the sun coming up on your senior year behind Sportsman's Weekly Sweets. You'll have to leave that boy on the dance floor, his hands stinging your waist with an ordinary grasp. Fields of gold playing your homecoming night into a home going. You'll take in long burnt breaths from a pipe she holds the same way your mother held a thermometer, her hand under your chin. It takes one to know one fills the car up with your absence. This is how it happens. If you want to know what you're made of, you'll have to be the wall of balloons and also the dart. This is my last one, which is very much in connection with this previous piece. And thank you guys so much for being in this moment with me. I'm really grateful. This is called An Intervention. I've been in a walk-in closet for 3 days. Snug Harbor Weekly off Fremont, 2 blocks east of the Showboat Casino. Across the street, a mechanic squints at a dipstick all day. I forget who lives here, a blowtorch, a scab face sobbing, an empty fridge. Before something disappears, after something begs, my parents find me, bang down the door, bring me into the sun like a rotting smell. The blue flame of my tongue hisses, spitting beetles hatch from my mouth. At home, my mother weeps and Spot treats a stain on my shirt. This is before there are television shows for these sorts of things. My father exhales cigarette smoke, then asks me if I'm trying to kill myself. Predictably, I mutter, would it matter? My older sister shakes out my shoes, fishes through my pockets. I am denied privacy in any bathroom. They intervene. My cries are boomerangs. My mother passes out bottles of peach clearly Canadian, my favorite when I was 12. This is before the treatment center with the mounted speakers, simulated oceans trapped inside. My father doesn't believe in treatment centers. My father is unconventional. He believes in Zen and the art of motorcycle maintenance. He believes in the harmony of math and the elegance of the open road. Someone gets my father a map. Choose, he says, anywhere you want to go. I move my shaky finger northbound from the ragged southern tip of Nevada. My mother adds oxymorons to describe the road trip. Detox vacation. My sister volunteers to water the plants while we're gone. It's been decided. Before anyone thinks to check the battery pack of my Walkman, I choose Newport Beach, Oregon. The waves aren't fraudulent. Sea lions huddle in anguished heaps. We soak in a brine of silence at the Great Salt Lake. A crust grows under my withdrawal. Salinity plumps my throat. A blue horse bucks in a metal cage for 40 miles. Between Pocatello and Blackfoot, I sleep pressed to the car window. I dream we are a migrating buffalo in search of the largest potato chip in the world. I learn more about russets than I know of love. We fish for farm-raised trout and throw every gasping mouth back. I remember my father's tackle box heart, its flashy lures, its crawdad charm. He baits my line, something tugs in me. Before we packed the trunk, no one thought to bolt the kitchen window or hide my mother's jewelry, my father's gun, the mason full of silver coins. My sister calls to say they took it all, my junkie crew. Skippy, Barbie, Harvey, foam twitching at the corners of their lips. Before we make it anywhere near a lighthouse, a sand-choked clam, a salty bluff where something can leap, my father stops speaking. He turns the car around. The seam of his mouth stiffens into an antenna. He is giving up. My ribs are sunken. Everything moves in reverse. Things that blossom black and shrink. Chicken wire snaps the milkweed's throat. Once, when I was a child, my ace-up-his-sleeve father piled us all into the Plymouth at midnight and drove all night for the best baby back ribs in California. I had never seen a blooming onion. We were invincible, licking our fingers clean. In Idaho Falls, we run on fumes. At the pulsing Shiloh Inn sign, we trade in our stillbirth idea of recovery for 2 beds, 1 room, nothing deluxe, a shitty view of the Snake River. Whatever trust had been established is retracted. I am the gasping mouth thrown back. I am left alone only to bathe. I float in a garden tub like a shriveled liver. Obsession leaves a film on the basin. I shuck the back from the Walkman. I let the water run and run. The ribbon unbuckles. Batteries spring their husks. I unfold synthetic pollen from its pouch onto Shiloh Inn's letterhead. I check the door's lock and check the door's lock. I chop fat lines, quietly, waking my intestines. I leave week-old confessions in black ink. I let the water run and run. My bones scrape every surface. Even the air leaves bruises. I lay down next to my sleeping parents in the dark, amphetamine coursing my mind into a coffin of hotel air conditioning and night sweats. In the morning, we eat continental muffins, powdered eggs. After my father still won't speak, the dirt twists under our failure. Every cow is a question, a manure prayer, a grazing grenade. Before granola bars bend in my mother's open purse, she does needlepoint with her mouth. Is this the place where 3 states kiss? The car fills with cigarettes and AM radio. My fingers reek of trout and backseat sweat. We wring out our hopes into gas station trash cans. We whiplash the useless Atlas into a gust storm outside of St. George. For no reason I can victimize myself with, my father pulls off to the side of the road. He cocks the lens onto his Canon EOS and tells me to climb the roadside haystacks. He fills up the film with my vanishing, my roadkill eyes and misfiring smile, my hollow jeans and goth-proud hair. The sun kneels down behind our family. He says he has to catch it before it disappears. He says something is on fire, the inadequate earth under the sinking sun. I pose and tangle my teenage inferno into the stacks. Let him capture me in this light. The shutter intervenes. Something is burning, he says. It's me. Thank you so much.
Jennifer Battisti, everybody. I mean, come on. There are poets, and there are writers, and there are lyricists. And Jennifer is at the cusp of, and I wish she focuses more on it, novels, because her poetry really captivates and paints a scene that a lot of poets dabble in, and Jennifer literally paints it for you. We just need her to now put the whole story into a full novel. All right, well, let's take a little break here. We have a bathroom key. We have drinks. Please, we'll give 5 or 7 minutes so everyone can stretch their legs, and then we'll get back into it. Thank you all. Please, the bathroom key's up there, because I'm sure someone will want to use it. We'll be back in 6, 7 minutes. All right?
Thank you.
Cool.
Give a cut.
Welcome back, everybody. I think everybody's here. Sweet. Cool. I do want to let everybody know that November 12th, we have another intimate evening. Sensuality is the theme of that one. And November 19th is Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, or just Fear and Loathing, which I believe Radio will be back for that one. Do we have you on that one?
I don't think so.
We're going to get you on that one then, because that's...
I'll let you know.
And then December 16th and 17th is the Poetry Arcade, which we'll be doing either here at our bookstore at possibly Core Contemporary, the art gallery near Brook Pine. So before we bring in our next poet, I thought I would read one that I have yet to read, and this is, speaking of ghosts, this involves 2 ghosts. One is William S. Burroughs, which is the title of this, Ode to William S. Burroughs. And the other one is my stepson who passed away. Mainly it's a William S. Burroughs ode, but I throw my son in there, Two Invisible Ghosts now. But I like to do this one in the William S. Burroughs voice, which I'm not sure I can pull off tonight, so I'm going to do my best. I'm going to do my best to try to do this. This is what I'm saving for doing poetry, but I thought tonight, since we were doing Invisible Ghosts, it would be a good time to try it out. So forgive me if it sounds like not anybody but me trying. Ode to William S. Burroughs. Pick your poisons wisely. We should have realized as the words fell from your mouth, like ashes, only to be removed back into tobacco and smoking themselves. Like a caged Hopi shaman predicting the unavoidable destruction of current and forthcoming generations, your stories carry the weight of 1,000,000 slaughtered buffalo. Nonetheless, we foolishly ignored it. But you knew this about us and proceeded to live in the stench of our dying and decaying society. Much like a vulture who lives in the shame but committed to cleaning up what we've left behind. We can't all live to be ancient or an elder, and only a small batch of us will have the future to be wise. I know this pains some people to hear, but by God, it's the truth, and we all must accept it. You warned us it would be getting worse, and holy hell, it has deteriorated. As if the bastards have always had a plan to exterminate most of us. Not that we'll need a nudge to find ourselves in uncomfortable experiences, but that hasn't stopped them from catapulting us into the fire with purpose. So your words that echo in the dry canyons of our minds should be a reminder to let bygones be bygones. Because soon enough, we too shall be gone. If you find yourself in heaven and happen to run into my son, buy him a drink or whatever poison he's chosen. If that wasn't too much of a distraction, I was really intense and I slide something. Oh, you had me until.
It worked.
All right, good. So we have a new poet this evening that has been coming to the bookstore quite often, and who we're excited to have. We have them in the next Avantpop Punk Anthology that'll be coming out here soon. But since we had some cancellations tonight, we wanted to bring Chris up here. Chris Jericho, please come on up and join us.
Thank you.
I did it while you already.
Okay. So, let's see. Yes, thanks for having me. Thanks, the Avantpop duo, and thanks for everybody else for showing up. Let's see. So, invisible ghosts, right? So, I'm not sure. All my poems are invisible ghosts, I guess. Because I don't know what I'm doing or who I am. Really. I don't know what that has to do with invisible ghosts, but I'm going to start with a poem that has the word ghost in it. So we'll see how this goes. This is called Toast to Oblivion. Haunches and highballs, lemon juice misting our faces, squinting and muttering, beckoning ghosts. Dealer serves pancakes. Decide to become a professional. Metallic squelch as the gears grind. Tongue is a flame tattooed on the bicep of a wimpy kid. 5 in the morning and fate has been cast. Wispy voice of a homeless man. Hubcap spit shine asking what time it is as though time matters. Sustenance is a blanket covered with stars and a hairless stomach. Ranting about the Anthropocene. Is that how you pronounce that? Anthropocene, right?
Words.
Sorry, that was.
I like it.
Sorry for that interruption, but it's good to be able to pronounce the words that you wrote yourself. Anthropocene, big word, yes. But anyway, okay, where was I? Ranting about the Anthropocene. St. Paul eats cheeseburgers but is otherwise mute. No, the sky isn't blue, but your eyes are. Pointed as drywall screws, small bones press against tribal nerves. Wolves are hungry again, choking on flea powder and gypsum dust. Suspense has maimed the grounds crew. We're all waiting to be cold-cocked and buried, ceremoniously ignored, chalked in lime, condolences. It's originally a love poem to my wife. No. She's a nihilist, so she loved it. That's Words of Hopelessness, another poem by my husband. Okay, this one is. Let's see. I'll do this other one. I like this one. This one's called "The Healing Justifies the Wound." Graceless dodge, blood-flecked blade. Damn, the impassioned make mistakes. Night stars exist without comment. The moon conceals its face, calm, frigid, unsinkable. Escaped by the music of sibilant snow. Again, sibilant, is that a word? Sorry, I should probably spell check these, but anyway. Let me start that stanza over because it's very important. Escaped by the music of sibilant snow. Soundtrack for a slow murder or a quick kill. Someday the blood will stop, doesn't beat oblivious to its future, but because of it. Look into the mirror, slightly cockeyed, only a hurried glance, thinking maybe to finish up, the way a painter puts down the brush, knows the muse is flailing, chest unzipped, feeling something frail has slithered out. Sorry about that. I think that's Thank you. Thank you. That's is that one. Thank you. There's another one with the word ghost in it. See if I can get through it without going through a word that I wrote that I don't understand. I no longer know the meaning of it. But, okay, this one's called Scribbled on a Fast Food Napkin. A technician of forsaken bits, I trace your broken parts, assemble cartographies of where you might be, rings of nuisance or a thunderclap of faith, sweet epiphany, mouthful of dead fish. Unlock fog, spill birds from mute sky, melodramatic crybaby, the blind meat thump, olives and black gloves, vulgar shapes, stupid flesh. What remains of our vows, ghost limbs, doctrines only thumb through. Every room now stuffed with whispers. Conscience is a clear wave. Ghosts chew glass, call it language. And so, take a drink here. So I'm real into blues music, blues and jazz. And so sometimes I'll put that on and sort of go along with, try to just write something from the unconscious, from just, what I like about blues is it's very standard, but you can't bullshit with it. If you're, you know, if you're a musician or you're listening to it, it has a structure, so it has limitation. So that's always good for me because I tend to fly way out there when I'm writing stuff. So these are kind of old poems, but I wrote this manuscript that was sort of my ode to blues, and I guess it sort of fits Invisible Ghost because that's what I think of traditional music like that. It's like one generation passing on to the next, and you know, there's ghosts in the music. They real. So anyway, this one's called. Wait, no, I don't like that one. Sorry, that was a bad segue. This one's called Blood Music. It's the blue note, the worried note, the flattened third, fifth, and the seventh. It's the sharp tip of a heart exposed, the smell of another off a lover's clothes, smear of lipstick on a motel mirror. It's the love song of a bullfrog, green eyes of a city girl on a trolley car, deep in the hills, the indigo purr of a moon-soaked night. Bone-white fangs starve for blood. It's danger, hurt, and madness. Orchids bloom best in dark jungles wrapped in thorns, bleeding out. Blood that is an allegory to ancestry, blood of privilege and American pop. Blood as a record of protest, bloody lips that will crust over. Blood of mimetic gesture. Blood wants to stay inside its body. Blood without agenda. Blood that can never be put back. And what's that one? I'm going to do a turn on this one. This one I found, this one I wrote years ago for a friend of mine, childhood friend that died. So this is about a dead guy. It's called Rock Formations. I think of my friend New Hampshire Reggie. Reggie in his muddy jeans, Reggie whose parents lived in a rental with no fence but a retaining wall painted a ghoulish purple. Reggie who died in a car accident one summer trying to surf on the hood of a 100-mile-per-hour Mustang while Reggie's buddy drove using only his bare feet. Poor Reggie got thrown like a muppet into oncoming traffic. Reggie's parents gave him what they call now an eco-funeral. Do they still call it that? I mean, this was written like 15 years ago. You know what I'm saying. Reggie's parents gave him what they call now an eco-funeral, burying him in a biodegradable green shroud under a weeping willow up by Lake Winnipesaukee. Reggie, whose most successful endeavor was perhaps that of a pot dealer. Reggie grew his own under fluorescence in the bedroom closet. Reggie in his Hendrix headband, teaching private lessons on guitar, a front for his secret green thumb. We used to lounge on the big rocks overlooking Laconia. Reggie taught me Deep Purple's Smoke on the Water on guitar. Reggie told me how George Harrison, the Quiet Beatle, said in an interview that he could have quit music altogether, said he just as well could have forgotten all the mania and became a gardener. Reggie of freedom, ambition, and dust. Reggie of the ether. Apparently that's true. I did hear that about George Harrison, my favorite Beatle, the Quiet Beatle, that he was like real into gardening and used to shrug off the whole Beatle thing and be like, I could have just been a gardener, you know, which I respected. You know, because I mean, I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay, now I'm going to move on to, here's something else. Here's one called Barbaric Heart. And this was an attempt at a prose poem that I got. Wait, no, I'm going to change it up. I'm changing it again. This one's called El Diablo. I like this one. El Diablo, there he is stuck behind a counter, zit-faced, counting numbers, stats, beans, and lemons. There he is crushed by time's stringency, office hours, skin like finely crafted boutique leather. There's our precious little boy, a total original. Quiet in the supermarket, smooth before the kill switch. He is all these things, waving his black magic wand, make you turn from your own self, swindled, with his undeniable proof, hidden wings and hint of horns. There he is with his scrub-clean hands on the wrecking ball. He's an old enemy, a newbie, knee-jerk nihilist, a box-eyed, easy answer man. There he is in a white room where hands mingle with light whispers, the kind coroners use to illuminate a corpse. He is the farmer tilling his soil while blackbirds sing and worms prepare for a feast as wives bite their fingernails and argue with their husbands' fair-weather friends. He is the driver of the meat wagon. There he is, the guy that gets out and changes the flat when a tire pops on the road during the night shift. He is the night shift. Visible ghost. It's kind of Satan-like, I guess, right? Isn't it? It sort of brings up an evil little, I don't know, invisible ghost. Here's another. Here's one that's called. How am I doing for time? Good.
Yeah.
Okay. So then I'll take another. This one is. It has the word Grim Reaper in it, so I think it fits. This is called lavatory graffiti. Lavatory graffiti. God is an unlicensed contractor, a lazy plumber who disappears mid-job, delivers power to crack technicians. And the repercussions forge in order we all follow as employees of a defective reality. When angels held out for better pay and benefits, God hired union scabs who groped our delicate world with dirty wrenches, showering us with a sticky incompetence, coughing up an evil hack that we just can't seem to get rid of. Now don your laundered uniform, Grim Reaper, and get your ass back to work. And yeah, this was from these are old books that were published from a small publisher years and years ago that is now kind of he's in the where are they now file somewhere. I'm not sure what happened to him, but yeah, but so that's interesting. Would like to put them together and like do something new with them sometime soon. Maybe I'll do that later. I don't know. This one's called Debris of Hearts. This was another. This was the people who published this was interesting, but that's for another time. And actually, they're both dead, unfortunately. There was a husband and wife publishing. They taught at some Midwest university somewhere. They really liked my stuff, and they published it. And I don't know who else they published. So, yeah, this is for Jenny and Brian. It's called, as I'm improvising which poem I'm actually going to read. Let's see, I'm trying to. I'll read this one. This one's called God's Special Nonsense Creation. So more cheerful love poetry for you. Born to feed wild arpeggios that augment the soul, to propagate, orchestrate infernal melodies that play always in the flesh. Lives of discord, searching for some sweet harmony, this dangerous proposition gives worth to dreams and weight to our hearts. Consult the script written within, honing out on the pulse, mumbling its own wayward language. A glossary of bone, blood, and song, and at the core, cultivate heart, sense, tolerance. Some gravitate towards utility, others visions, raising hell or rearing love in its extroverted mutations, its intimate vibrations. To live unruly through all the peculiar stats, through the cruel math, the cold algebra of the streets, negotiate the mind's exposure, reeling in daft air. To battle the elements and brave the furious speeds of the serotonin highway. stuffed with oily curtains of knowledge that hide so many of us from the wizard we wish upon. A nod to the criminal adrenaline rush of idle dreamers, taking an axe to the system's doctored ladder. Blown kisses like footnotes from some ephemeral Bible, exposing an appendix of sputtering nerves and animal ticks, to keep afloat the indigestible dirigible our hearts can become. Dive in, chum. Lost minions paddle on for greater shores. It's a dicey hand. Draw blood. Never mind the sharks. All right, thank you.
Thank you, dude. That was fantastic.
Thanks, everybody.
Yes, we're going to keep bringing Chris back. He can't stop. So we want to make sure he has a voice. But before we close out this evening, we have a poet that we're big fans of and who many of you may know if you're in the poetry circuit. Their voice is alternative and disgruntled. Please welcome Mike Falconer. Come on.
Good evening, everyone. Ghosts. They are here. Notable by their absence, the departed and the ever-present. Tied by connection, stronger than bondage. Broken, leaving scars, to be picked over, made to bleed, made to hurt. To scab over, to heal, but always to leave a mark. Faded by time, hounded, haunted. The moved on have moved on. One-way streets have no rear-view mirrors. The ghosts are not to terrify, but to horrify with past pictures and old photographs. Not actions, but symbols, the ever-present echo, love that has decayed, rotted on the vine. Sour in mind, body, spirit, and soul, the supplication of priests and prophets, the well-intended, misguided, and futile. Some call it baggage, others ghosts. Possibilities like quantum theory living on in the minds and the memories of those left behind. Thank you. Thank you. That's from my first book, which is Poems of Violence and Lies, which you can find on Amazon and also at the Avantpop Bookstore. It's really about being haunted by love that's lost. Which is really kind of one of the themes I picked for Invisible Ghosts. This collection of poems really focuses on love, loss, and death, and in line with that cheery subject. This poem is about suicide. A shadow in the distance. The first time I saved your life, you were sitting on the couch, a razor blade in your hand, plans interrupted by a knock at the door. It was over a girl, of course. Out of options and a future. Humiliated in your own mind, friend-zoned within an inch of your life. The second time I saved your life, it was coming home too soon, a drink of bitter liquid death, chased by pills, alcohol, and a knot of despair. Work anxiety was the culprit this time, unable to see the wood for the trees, the story for the story in one's head. The end of a way of life to protect a life. The third time I saved your life, it was a noose around your neck, talking you out of upsetting the chair, loosening the ropes against the changing of your mind. Surprise, surprise, a girl again, run around and no time this time around. Fear of being forever alone, a lack of compatibility with the human race. And so here we are. a future neither of us could have foreseen. Who knew that age would stymie the rage? Disappointment is now just that, disappointment. The alternative's almost welcome. Of course, it's always a companion, a reminder of a dark path not taken, a shadow in the distance. But not today. No, not today. Thank you. I think that places can also haunt you. I'm from Scotland, you may have noticed. And this poem is really about the experience of going home to a culture that really doesn't feel like my culture anymore. But it's also going home and feeling under that kind of shadow of death. This is called Time Passes. Old photograph. Young people now gone. A different age, a diffident page, walls that received scrawls. Papered over notes to future generations, rooms of changed purpose. The rescaling of memory. Conversion, misalignment, context leading to comparison. Time passes. An indoor playground, an indoor care home, shared memories, forgotten times. Small house, small rooms, washing up by hand, ill-fitting appliances, painted wood, wallpaper, and patterned carpet. Condescension and a lack of comprehension, old roles winding back the years, reintroducing subservience, bordering on servitude. Time passes. Board games, card games, game shows, soap operas, takeaways, documents, arrangements, subsistence, shopping, abandoned hobbies, one of the many things no longer possible. Depression, what to eat, joint pain, waiting for loss. Ready to go now, undisclosed medical conditions, the awful nothingness. Time passes. Thank you. So sometimes we end up haunting ourselves, and this is a relatively new poem, so this is called Talisman Alone. You were here, the sign says, unwilling to settle, knowing the destructive place, punishing someone for not being someone else. For I have known perfection, and I have been rejected by it. A fate accepted if not at all together tolerated, a bridge long burned, its pylons collapsed at the bottom of the darkest of rivers. But a pain still flammable, kept candles framed by the prison of patterns. Time like flood channels, but still trapped. I don't believe in angels, but the demons believe in me, clinging to politeness and kindness like a talisman alone. The stream of other lives, a rock in the flow, covered in the algae slime of envy. Madness of those not on the fringes of acceptability, sarcophagi of self-immolation. You can't die in your dreams, but you can dream. The nightmares say so. Thank you. So we all lost friends to the culture wars. This is an obituary for a friendship. This is called A Friend of a Fiend. Stranger by the day, a stranger by deed and thought. When did you disappear down the rabbit hole? Begging and taunting for me to come after you, only to spring a trap of mind and soul. This is no longer Kansas. To argue, correct, or engage is futile and frustrating. The person I once knew seems to be gone, lost in the distortion field bubble. Does one really give up so easily? To lose friends are few and far between. To lose them to conspiracy and fakery is heartbreaking and reeks of cowardice. The contagion of influence, how dare you fall for a lack of critical thinking? Debate me, argue with me, but stop with the broadcasting. Engagement is a team sport. With glue and dedication, the monster you are becoming would be reviled by who you once were. A friend of a feed, a job to mourn and document, an obituary for a friendship, part of the larger cultural miasma, no less important or devastating, the decay of an orbit and the collapse of a system, the final joke, to take it all so seriously. Thank you. This is my last poem of the evening. I'd really like to thank Avantpop Bookstore and the Office of Collecting and all my fellow poets for this evening. But I particularly like to thank you guys for coming out and supporting local artists. That's very fucking cool of you. This is from my second book, Working Dog, the one with the cool cover. I lost a dog very suddenly a couple of years back, and this is for Dapple. This is The End of Days. Did I fail you? To die in my arms without warning or mercy? Both of us knowing that this was not right, but being helpless and hopeless? Quick, trying to save you when I should have been saying goodbye. The long drive to the vet, knowing it's too late, but needing to go anyway. Never underestimate the privilege of a proper goodbye. The end of days. A hole in my life where your whole life was. The awful nature of our final moments overshadowed a life lived together, making memory raw and painful, rather than joyful and treasured. The scant reassurance of time is scant reassurance. The detritus of daily lives, slowly removed and stored, your crate, bed, bowls and meds, gone like the padding of your feet. The staring from walls, all that's left. Life, love, and death condensed, but loss is magnified by repetition. Those that have gone before, the inevitability of those to come, collecting lives, experiences, and heartbreaks. But that's the good stuff. Life has no meaning without death. Love has no meaning without loss. A companion for the living of a life. An unconditional bond to bind. So this is my goodbye to you, as lackluster and as inadequate as it might be. It comes from a place of love and framed by the good times, the hope that I did right by you and the love you so selflessly gave. Farewell to yet another companion, the ones who shared my life journey, whose lives structured mine. As hard as this is, the privilege is mine. Grief is but love persisting. Just ask my other dog, who grieves in his own way. We rattle around the house unbidden, finding our place in our own world, without you, but with you in mind. Thank you very much.
Mike Falconer, everybody. Mike has his books available. Most of our poets do tonight have their books available at Avantpop Bookstore. Mike is a fun one for sure, wordsmith. So we're about to wrap this up this evening. We are so thankful that everybody came out this evening and hung out with us and heard some poetry. For the poetry lovers out there, we hope that you continue to follow us and like our artists out there. But I thought I would leave you with, since we're talking about ghosts, I'm a big, if you haven't been to the bookstore, you will know when you come in, Ancient Aliens fan. And so these days, it seems everybody's into aliens, but I had studied under a man named Zacharias Sitchin, who is part of the whole UFO experience as far as who translates hieroglyphs. And I got into UFOs and ancient aliens long before it became popular recently. And so I wrote this poem a long time ago thinking that that eventually it would catch up. And I feel like now it's finally catching up. Like people are finally realizing that they're here. And so this poem is called "It's in Your DNA." It's in my DNA. I want to thank you all for coming out tonight. This will be my closer. Hidden ghosts or invisible ghosts. This is one that we don't realize they're here, but apparently they may be closer than we think they are. Even closer than I think they are. We'll find out here soon. It's in my DNA. I was 7 when my parents divorced. We moved in with my mom's sister and her husband. He worked for the Navy. And they lived next to the base, the government base. I remember the first time we arrived. It was a hot spot in the desert, in the high desert. We swam in their pool, looking to the sky, smothered with stars. I said, "A UFO." My aunt muttered, "It's a plane. I guess he doesn't know." But I knew, I always knew. Throughout my school years, my friends were the outcasts, the geeks, the punks, the weirdos, the ones that also believed we weren't alone in this galaxy, the ones that knew and that knew. I knew. I always knew we weren't alone. In my 20s, we would meet in the back of pizza restaurants, passing around and watching through the fuzzy, blacked out, scattered information on TVs that we would bring in, outdated transformation from photocopied and UFO tapes. We had accumulated all this information over time. I knew. I always knew. In my 30s, I studied under Zecharia Sitchin, read Eric von Daniken. I never doubted the Hills, the family of the Hills, and Bob Lazar. Never sounded bizarre because I knew. I always knew. Now in my late 40s, our government finally admitted there is technology that is far beyond ours. Out there, in the air, in the seas, maneuvering in directions and speeding far beyond what we could achieve. And all I could say is, I knew. I always knew. I might not see it in my life, but it will be in an historical blink of the eye. When the religious companies and world governments all agree it's been known for centuries that they're here and have been, that we know where they're from, how they got here, why they're here, and if we'll be overrun. Then everyone will say, I knew. I always knew. I always knew they were here. Thank you all for coming out tonight. Thanks for all of our creative poets. I mean, they are here in town. They have many events that they follow. Please follow them and come back out and make sure that you support all these great writers in town, all right?
Thank you.
Thank you, folks. And we're gonna head to the bookstore afterwards. If any of you still need more words in your face, we've got them just a few doors down. So please come and see us. Thanks, everybody.